welcome. My name is Liz McGee. This is Prophecy for the Last Hour. I have a great teaching in store. So we're going to go right to the meat. I'd like you to hit the like button on this video and subscribe. I hope that you will check back often and keep up with my latest recordings. So do subscribe. There's a lot of good stuff. And today I am going to just go right into, I've never really taught this, and I'm going to try to explain it in this very short amount of time. Something that I am now absolutely convinced of, and that we have to kind of put in our toolbox, so to speak, of having, if you want, biblical understanding. So I read a lot, of the Zohar, and have total respect and understanding now of the sages and the Kabbalistic understanding that has been kept for us in these last days. So I'm going to read from actually the last chapter. I was reading this, the finishing one, volume 2 of the Zohar, and there was this great verse, or let me just read this. It says, how intensely we should contemplate Torah. Woe to the close-minded, close-hearted, and shut-eyed. Look, Torah proclaims before them, come, eat, drink of the wine I have mingled, eat of my bread. Whatever is simple, turn in here. Whoever is simple, turn in here. She says to those devoid of sense, and it quotes Proverbs 9:42. So we know that this is wisdom. We can call it Lady Wisdom, our Heavenly Mother, the Divine Feminine. This is all a principle that I haven't been unpacking. A lot of people have to understand this concept. But then it says, but no one pays attention. Now that is really right out of Proverbs. So again, come, eat of my bread, drink of my wine. But then it says, come and see. This verse contains supernal mysteries. This is the whole point. The Zohar is for people who are really steeped in Torah, who want to get the meat of the word, the deep understanding. Okay? This verse contains supernal mysteries within and without. Male and female, he created them. Implying this nuance, implying that nuance, implying that sun and moon share a single bond. For it is written, he created them, as is said, sun, moon stood still in her lofty abode. Now, there's a lot of code words in here. So what I've understood now, and you understand, the keys to the kingdom is all about code words. It's about how the deeper level understandings, we'll call it for the mature, is couched in terminology that at first glance, you think the sun and the moon. We're talking, our physical sun and moon. But the whole concept, the way Hebrew is as a concrete language, and the way the Torah was written, is the fact that they used very common things that we're aware of to couch, or to, and this is what it means to couch, to hide deeper meanings. This is the whole concept of different levels of biblical interpretation, the whole concept behind pards, which is how Hebrew exegesis works. And this is the whole concept of the keys to the kingdom that Yeshua talked about. So, and I've been through, have a lot of videos on this. You can get up to speed on my playlist. But what really struck me is this is like he says, the writer, woe to the closed-minded, closed-hearted, and shut-eyed. And I'm just done with it myself, because personally, last week I preached at a Shabbat service, and I'm going to, let the wicked be damned. I'm ready. We are at the end of the age, people. And this is what we have to, I believe the Holy Spirit is asking us to sort of, well, you have to make a decision, first of all. And once you make that decision, there's no more toleration for those who are wicked, who completely to be God deniers and God rejectors. Because as Paul says, everything that's made, it's making it so evident. And now where we are, and that's sort of where I want to get into in the teaching on today, on the four worlds, and how the Kabbalah has kept the understanding of the universe and the levels of creation that are out there couched in these words. It is all coming out now, and science is catching up, and especially quantum physics. We're kind of at the end of this thing. It's very evident. They are at a point now where they absolutely know, scientifically, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there is definitely something more than our physical reality. But the question right now I ask you, anybody, are you going to make the leap of faith? I mean, where are you going to go with that? Because right now, when this thing ends and changes on a dime, as I said last week, and you should listen to my YouTube, because the wicked be damned. The way the thing is wired, it is so just of Elohim. You have such free will, you have such ability to choose you this day who you will serve, and you have such ability to make the right decision. And so what can I say? Well, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So when you realize that, wow, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, that the emotional turmoil on your soul, that which with a fire, this is what it all means, that you're just going to be like, I feel sorry for people. I would not want to be in that position. So all that's my preaching. Got to get that out of the way. Okay, so there are 4 worlds very clearly taught in our biblical texts. And I want to get into that. But before I do, back to this whole point that, when you contemplate Torah, it is so deep. I am so done with the naysayers. They have no clue. This is such a holy book. This is such a cosmic Torah book. Let me give you a couple of other quotes of people who understand this. That I was on a website. This is from a website called Of the City of Luz, a deep Kabbalistic thinker, sage out there. And he had this to say: one of the guidelines in approaching scriptures is to realize that it is not a history book. It is not simply recording events that take place in ancient times. I mean, that's part of the story. Obviously, no, the Peshat level of understanding, let's not play stupid. Abraham is a patriarch, and he really did live. But nor is the Torah a collection of allegorical or mythical stories that are open to anyone's interpretation. Now, I know people who personally are tripped up on this and like, oh, Liz, you're just making up what these words mean. No! Hello out there, no! And this is the point where anyone who comes to Torah, and in this season we're in, if you're coming through Hebrew roots, if you're coming through that door back, getting grafted back into the root, you better understand that Judah's birthright was to keep the writings and the oracles in the house, which they've pretty much done. It's already predetermined by generations long past by our patriarchs what these code words mean. So I'm done with people just making up. We all know that the Bible's full of allegorical and mythological stories. Read it for 5 minutes. But the meaning of that is established. And you have to stop making stuff up. If you're a teacher, you need to get into Torah, you need to get into the Zohar, you need to get into the mind of our patriarchs, and you need to get it from the source. Sorry, I want preaching. Rather, the Torah is a cosmic code whose mathematical-like notation is a string of equations that all together constitute one very large equation, which in turn are all condensed into the root formula, Yav-He Vav-He. We'll call it the Tetragrammaton. All right, this is the point. The Torah letters and the Torah, or the Hebrew letters and the vowel points, there is a very specific, and this is the level, the next level, and this is the point of the millennial kingdom, is to show people that this whole Torah, the constructs, the forces, and the realities of all of creation, all of life is in the Torah. But unless you have the keys, you cannot get to this level of understanding and unlock it. But today we are. Today there is, and this is where we're going to go as we flip this thing on a dime. And the understanding, or let me put this, because at Babel, what happened was, it took this pure understanding of how the cosmos works, the four worlds, who's behind it, everybody's place in the cosmos, who the angels are, and, you know, who Elohim is, all this, that was all known. See, this is the point. It was all out in the open. It was all very visible. And nobody, quote unquote, argued about that. But the point is, at Babel, when the wickedness of man ganged up, you know, let's gang up on God again, he took all of the understanding that they had, and at Babel, he confused it. Most people take it at its first level literal meaning, which is the 70 languages of the world. He made, you know, the 70 nations, everybody kind of split off, and he developed, from then on, developed this concept of separate languages. Now, one level that is sort of true, but in a bigger picture, what we're talking about is the pure understanding of how the world works was just split up into, so now you have Babel, you have 70 different people, and that's a very, like, sacred number, is it literally, but symbolically, of just think about it today. How many isms are there? I mean, just in Christianity today, I think they say there's over 40,000 different quote unquote denominations. How many splits and schisms can you do to this original concept, the pure, undefiled understanding of Elohim? So he has promised when this thing is all wrapped up, we will go back to a pure language, a pure understanding. The righteous, the elect, we will have one mind. We will have one understanding. There will be one Lord, obviously. Adonai. There'll be one faith. There's one baptism, and there's one Elohim over all. Adonai Eloheinu. Okay, so this is where we're going. And it's very exciting today. So if you're on the quote unquote the right side of the fence, this is a great time to be alive. You should be into Torah and getting a head start at all of this. Okay. So another quote here, in sense, it took physicists over 5,700 years, 5,700 years to realize what Abraham and our forefathers knew. All right. Because a lot of Kabbalah, the understanding, it's as concrete, it's as real, it's as physical. If you had Yahweh's microscope, see, you know, we think, oh, you can't, the world of the spirit or the world of the soul, we can't put under a microscope. You know, we can't taste it, touch it, so it can't be real. Huh, you don't understand. Yahweh has a microscope on everybody and everything, and he sees through all of the dimensions. All right, now it says the physicists have finally discovered that there are 10 dimensions to our universe. And how come you call it string theory? And there's 10, you know, they say there's 10 dimensions. Now the next level is time for us to understand, and this is where we're coming to, that the upper 3 dimensions exist outside of the bottom 7. And that the higher dimensionality translates to their operating in faster than the speed of light, without the burdens of our physical limitations. So this is something that is now becoming, and this is what I was going to go with, let me just jump ahead to quantum mechanics. This is what they're proving. They know beyond a shadow of a doubt, okay, that the physical reality, when you get into quantum mechanics, the quantum level of reality, which they can do now, they know in terms of size, where it's like 1/1000th of a meter. You can go look up how a meter is. I mean, it's crazy, but they know that at this level you cannot predict with absolute certainty the outcome of a wave or a particle, a stream. You can't. They've done tons of studies. It's so random. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to it. So there is nothing in the physical world that can be determined for certainty when you get down to this level. Well, hello, that's what your Bible's been telling you from day one. And this is when you couple this together, the 10 dimensions with the 10 Sephiroth, with the 4 worlds. It's a complete package. It's a total package, all right? And so now I want to touch on the concept of these 4 worlds and why it's, I feel it's very important right now, especially for me, it's just, I kind of, I'm that lateral thinker. This is just always going to come up, people, so I'm sorry. If you're a linear, I'm a feminine, right? Obviously, right? I'm a female. Masculine, this is in the stereotyping of it. Masculine mindset is very linear. I am very feminine. I am very lateral. I like to take concepts and move them all up at the same time. All right. And, if I move a concept forward in my mind 5 feet, I'm not going to take it to the finish line because there's too much. I look down the row that way and that way. And it's like, well, I can't be leaving all these other ideas in the dust because what if they have an effect on this linear line? As an aside, I had one rabbit trail. I was talking to a friend of mine today about all this, and she had a great insight, but it's really true, that men and women, because it did talk about the male and the female, as I quoted you from the Zohar. This is a huge principle. One more digression. I'm going to be teaching at a Sukkot starting on Wednesday next week. I'm going to do 3 sessions of teaching at Sukkot, which I will upload, which will be on the male and the female ideology that is in our text. So I'm going to really try to flush this out to a really, do a very linear, a good job of kind of flushing that all out. But women, her husband has been kind of having to be because she's been kind of laid back for a while, has had to take on the role of much of the, traditionally raising the children and running the household type of thing. And he's come to her and said many times, honey, this is the hardest thing in the world. I cannot believe that you would just do this sort of almost effortlessly all these years. I'm happy because the idea of not being able to be linear, like when you have kids, you don't just raise one of your kids all the way from 0 to 21 and then ignore all the other kids. You got to raise these kids all at the same time. This is what a female contribution to the whole concept is, to be able to juggle. This is why they say juggle many things at the same time. This is very important concept, and I'm talking getting away from the stereotype into how our minds operate. Because if we're going to come together, if the female, we have to understand that the 2 ways the mind works, the left side and the right side, there is a way to combine both of them into a perfect balance to get a perfect end result. And this is a little bit of where science and the mystic or the spirituality things have to come together in this putting together of this information. And because I said there's going to be an end game, if you're on the more secular side of this thing and you want proof of Elohim, I'm sorry, just go contemplate a flower for half an hour. All right, there are surefire ways to get into the other dimensions than, well, sometimes you have to do it that way than the way your mind, wants to take you. So anyways, but such a digression. Let's go back to this. One of the main things to understand in understanding the code words and how these concepts are put together in our Bible for us is the concept of above and below, is the concept of the heavens and the earth. See, these are all code words that are telling us dimensional, positional, relational realities on the 4 worlds. And I should probably get to the 4 worlds, but I want to make this last point. In the fall, part of the whole ideology and understanding what is going on, when he made them male and female, and he, in one level, on a little, okay, yes, there are men and women in the world today. Okay, so nobody's gonna, but on a deeper understanding, because they even know everybody's got the same brain. The male brain and my brain, we basically have the same thing. All right. Now there are definitely different wirings and tendencies, but basically I can think like a mathematician and an engineer. I can be a very linear, what they would term to be more of the left side, and I can also be as much operating on the right side, which is more intuitive and subjective and which studies the whole, is what I'm trying to say with it. So we have to be careful when we talk male and female. Let me say this: feminine in the terms of Elohim, the way he's not a feminist. Nobody's going to run away with this thing and dominate the other. He is all about balance. There's nothing feminist about the concept, and I'm talking about in the very kind of like derogatory way the world, oh my gosh, is going today with this, all right? There is a left side in the brain operates, there's a right side. There's a male side and there's a female. That's just the code words that they give this thing. So like I said, I'm not making this up, and I'm not putting modern 20th century spin on this thing. So when you talk about the above and below, when you talk about the body, originally the body, my physicality, was made to serve, to be a vessel for my soul life. And I've been through this. The soul there's 5 levels to a soul life of a person. But what happened in the fall is it got flipped around, and now my body primarily is the originator, or is the when the pistons fire, my body gets the first say. My body gets the first thought. My body gets the first, like, here I am, feed me, clothe me, you know, me and my passions, me and my ego. This is what it's saying. Originally, the perfect creation was the soul, the hidden, the ethereal part, the part that's really full of the beauty. Oh, how do I even say it? Was supposed to be the have the upper hand. That's why they say, oh my gosh, some of the mythology, some of the language where Eve, I won't even go there, fell because she wouldn't get on top of Adam, and this kind of, I mean, some of it gets varied because there's not a full, really deep understanding of what's going on. A lot of the texts, a lot of people, uninitiated people who take these texts and don't really know what the language is talking about, really do pervert it and profane it. This is why the text says, you know, this is why it is a holy word, and we just have to stop profaning it. All right, so the body was meant to serve the soul, but unfortunately now the body, and it's through its passion, which is the world of the heart, the world, and one of these worlds got the upper hand. All right, and this is everything that is being fixed. This is the whole, and in the physics of the thing, there really is a fix that's going on kind of below the radar. This is the whole point with the millennium, the first resurrection, and the first stage of the fix is going to be revealed. All right, so so one of the main things to understand in this whole concept, we were talking about the 4 worlds, we were talking about the 10 emanations. Only one of the emanative worlds, the world of Asya, is visible to our physical eyes, ears, nose, smell, and everything. That leaves 9 that are out there. And that's why when you get into quantum mechanics, because they don't understand how it's all working together for good. So, but I'll get into that. But it's really important to understand that there is visible and invisible in this whole big picture. All right, and this is what the Bible's always told us. In the 2nd book of Enoch, and it's many places, I just picked this verse out of Enoch because it's very clear. It says, I created a man from invisible and visible nature. And what it's saying that nature in the largest picture, everything that's going into this, our experience of life, let's call it this way, is being put into this word nature. So it's not just being limited to what I can actually see and taste, but it is made up of visible and invisible nature. There is the seen and the unseen. This is why it says there's the upper and the lower. There is the another way, the higher wisdom and the lower. There's the upper waters and the lower waters. See, the concept is always the same. They just use different words. This is what's taken me so long to figure this out. Why another read has to be the end of the age? Because these rabbis have been at it so long. There are so many code words, and so many great minds have gotten to this level of understanding and written about it, but used, you know, a lot of concrete examples to define it, that it just takes too long to kind of, let's just cut to the chase. Let's just get it back to a simple, pure. That's what it means by a simple. But that's why you have in your text, you will have metals, you will have directionals like north, south, east, and west. You will have seasons like the 4 seasons. You will have ethical writings. You will have allegorical language. You will have, let me put it this way, all of these things, whether it's a direction, the sides of the north, which is not referring to Russia. It's referring, the sides of the north is an actual geographic location on the Sephirithic tree of life in these 10 emanations in these 4 worlds. And it's a world of Gevera. It's a world where Satan like has his home base, you could say, all right? That's what it's referring to, all right? There's the ethical quality. So you are either wicked, your actions are speaking, you're either wicked or righteous. You colors also carry a lot of this coded information. The planets and how the planets, like whether Saturn or Venus, Mars, the ancients have passed down a concept and to a literalness, to they give off a mazal, they have a definite influence, they are players in this thing, to body parts, all right, to vegetation. I've been through all this, there's architecture. I mean, it just goes on and on. So the point is, I mean, there's just almost too much to wade through, but once you get the concept of what they're doing, okay, then it gets easier. So we have the visible and in the invisible. So in other words, I've been through this so many times. I have a physical body, but I sure have, and everybody has a soul, like an inner world. And you ought to praise Elohim that inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, is not up on some big screen for other people to see. It's on the big screen for the angels to see, and it's totally on the big scene for Elohim to see. But anyway, so let me go back to this concept. Another one here I'll just give you from the book of the Clementine Homilies. I quote a lot out of the extra biblical books because I want people to understand that this is why we can trust the extra biblical books a lot, because they're carrying forward the same themes, but sometimes they actually spell it out in much more information. Our Torah, like I said, is literally the code book. It's really like the condensed, it's really like the chemical chart. But unless you know what each one of those symbols means and how they interact, combine, so when you see the symbol of the chemical and it's got this, oxygen and this thing together, you understand all the backstory, you understand what all the symbols are saying, so you can read it. That's why we have been in a real pickle and for the last couple hundreds and hundreds of years, once we kept really losing these keys. But it says in the Clementine Homilies in chapter 37, but let us teach our bodily senses, which are our outer senses, okay? So this would be the carnal man. This would be the outer vessel. This would be there's so many ways of this, okay? The outer garment. But let us teach our bodily senses, which are our outer senses, to be in subjection to our inner senses. So what we have to do, especially as Torah observant believers, where Yahweh expects holiness and righteousness, we are to take that nephesh, and I've been through this, soul life that is dominant in us, that is the first, it's always the first responder of any thought or emotion or physical appetite need that we have. And we are to subject it to a righteous standard, which will put it back in its place, all right? Because we are not to be ruled by this carnal nature, because it is fallen, and Hasatan, through the evil inclination, has total access to it. This is the whole point. So we need to teach our bodily senses, which are our outer senses, to be in subjection to our inner senses, and not compel our inner sense. And not compel our inner senses, which savor the things that are of Elohim, to follow the outer senses, which savor the things that are of the flesh. Therefore, let the bodily senses as well as the internal thought be subject to Yahweh's Torah, and let them serve his will, whose work they acknowledge themselves to be. So we have to take our flesh and subject it, and then we have to clean up, again, apply Torah. That's the cleansing waters. This is literally going on in a physical, in a world of physics, where we also cleanse our thoughts, and we cleanse our the world of our emotions, and we get our emotions healed or our memories healed. You know, there's so many parts of this thing, because we're bringing this whole thing back up to a level where it was before the fall, which you can do. You can cease from all willful sin, and you can become holy and mature and get a pretty good. So that's what they call the that's the homiletic part. That's the the part of the law. It's 100% available and expected. So back to this concept of the four worlds, and now I'm going to screen share something, because I think that this is really helpful where I'm going with this. All right. So, where's my little screen share? How could this be? All right, hold on a second. I'm going to find it. I have this little file that has a lot of good stuff in it. Look at all that. See, I've been tracking this stuff. I'm going to figure this out. And I have gotten great headway. So I praise Yahweh that, if you seek him with all your heart, he will. Oh my gosh, where is it? Because see, we have to stop being scared of all this ancient. Here we go. All right. We have to stop being scared of all of this ancient way in which the ancients portrayed this information. And we have to get it back from the occultists, who right now, they've kept it and understand it. We've just sort of keep dishing our, we just refuse for, so there's such a fundamentalist mentality over much of the church that they are afraid of this. So I'm just telling you, stop being afraid. The four worlds of Kabbalah, you have Yod, He, Vav, He. That's the Tetragrammaton. That's the 72. That is, everyone understands that that's everything. That's like soup to nuts. If we could ever crack that code or that understanding. But inside of that, take it so deep, you have these different worlds. You have this world of Atzilut under Yod, the red. Fire, and it's coded with fire. So I'm saying there's a letter, there's the name Atzilut, it's got a specific location in the Sephirithic tree of life, and it has an element to it. Then you go to He, the world of Bria, which is and so the first one is the masculine, the world of Atzilut, the world of Bria, which is the world of creation, the world of Vav. The third one, Yav, He, Vav. All right, this is the world of formation. It's under there. It's got the world of air. The word air is under it. And the fourth world you have is this world of Asiya, which is, it says earth underneath it, and it's green. It's the final He. So coded into Yav, He, Vav, He is this understanding of the four worlds. Is called the four winds, the four foundations. It's got so many, the four archangels, and they code this concept into a lot of these metaphorical words. But you have to see this: Atzilut, Beria, Yetzia, and Yetzirah, and Asiya. These are four levels of the world that we all interface with constantly at the speed of light. Let me tell you something, that the Kabbalists that has been kept, this understanding has been kept by the sages for this time, and as quantum physics comes to an understanding where all that the best they can do, and they have pretty much tapped much of the understanding of the world of Asiya. But they know now that quantum mechanics, there is a level right there, and when you get into Yetzirah, this world of the Ruach, this is the world of the Ruach, that it just takes a quantum leap, and there's no predictability. They cannot go there with their present tools and understandings. So be that as it may. Now what I want to go into here is that these four worlds are always coded, especially in ancient literature, with four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And in many ways, especially in the physicality of this thing, because once you get a concept, Yahweh doesn't change his archetype. I've said this. It also can be correlated into the concept of gases, liquids, solids, and what they call plasma, the 4 states of energy that we know. So once you establish these templates, as you go up and down in the worlds, the unifying principles in them stay the same. So what you have here, so we have earth, air, wind, and fire. We have Yod, He, Vav, He. And it take forever to unpack. There's so much in there. But Yod and He on the tree of life represent this world of Alut. Oh my gosh, here, I gotta have my chart in front of me. Alut, which refers to Chokmah and Bina, our heavenly mother, our heavenly father, to wisdom, to understanding, to the mind of Elohim, to consciousness, to the first thought, to the first cause, whatever theological system you want to put on it, which actually is out there. The Hindus have it, the Buddhists have it, you know, it's in Christianity has a code, they call it the Trinity. They're a little, you know, but the Hebrews have it totally locked down in a systematic theology that this is where we need to have this understanding and to go. And this is the origination of the concept. He made them male and female in his image, and that has become the archetype, the template for the whole cosmos. The whole thing runs on this concept of yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. See, so the main thing, if you're going to try, you just got to, and it's hard for us, because we're not taught to think philosophically. That's one of the big problems with the modern world and our modern educational system. People have a hard time. But you just have to divorce it from all the lower, profane, you know, like I said, you think feminine, you think of a feminist, you know, okay, and all the bad images that come to your mind, whatever, don't do that. Just stick pure biblical concept. The 4 levels also relate to wisdom, understanding, emotion, and kingdom. So his is the key. These you will see once you begin to understand all this, and then you begin to read your text, you begin to see that the people who wrote your text totally understood this, and this is what they're referencing. So, so in that you have wisdom, understanding, emotion, and kingdom, which is another whole grouping that you can use to explain this whole concept. Then you go into even deeper in this. If you learn Hebrew, you can get into the cantillation marks, the vowels, the decorative crowns on letters and letters themselves. This is something that last couple of months I've really finally being able to wrap my mind around. Like, what are all these rabbis? What is up with all these numbers and in meditation and their numbers and permutations and all this kind of stuff? What are they doing? All right, now I understand. All right, this is another way in which they transmit information, and it has to. This is a huge area that, you know, you need to really, if you get your mind wrapped around, and how, again, because a lot of the understanding is, you have the kind of the body and the soul, even in the letters, that concept travels. So the letter, this is why in the whole discussion of Paul and the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, what is the root of all these ideological concepts? And really, when you don't when people argue, it's because they don't understand the pure essence of what it's saying. So let me try with this. The letters are referred to as sort of the body. All right, it's physical. You can see it. When you see a letter Yod, when you see a letter Vav, when you see the symbol, and it's a letter. But it is the vowels and the little they call them the cantillation marks and the little decorative crowns. If you ever really looked at Hebrew, they also, and especially when they enlarge it in the decorative script, it's very much evident. You know, there's these little, at the top, there's these little dots, and there's these little crowns, and these, you know, they're not just doing that to to make pretty script. It has deep meaning. And those are referred to as the soul. So the whole concept there is that the letters, you put together 3 root letters, let's say, but it's the vowels and it's the cantillation points that give that word its meaning. So in other words, so it's so beautiful because the same thing, I mean, I can have a body, anybody, you know, you can make an AI, you can make a body or what, but it is the soul that fills me and fills each of us individually. It is our soul that fills us with our meaning, with our essence, with our who we are and why we're different from each other. That's why you put 3 letters together, 3 of the same letters together. And many words have the same 3 root letters, but then again, where you put the vowels and where it tells you what it's all about. See, so it's very beautiful. So the typology, they stick with it. It doesn't change. So that's another huge way in which they transmit information about these 4 worlds. Now, additionally, these 4 worlds, which as I said, you have a world, you know, and I have a hard time with pronunciation, so try the world of Alutz, the world of Beria, the world of Yetzar, and the world of Asiya. Okay, that's technically the Kabbalistic words for these worlds. But you could kind of shorten it and transliterate to be the world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of formation, and the world of action. All right, and I'll get into that, I'll flush that, because that is where we're going to get down to quantum physics. That's what we're going to really understand in terms of how it is so why they will say that nothing in the physical world, no wave or particle can they predetermine when it finally hits the plane and logs its location in the quantum world. You can't predict that. You can give it a statistical, you know, huge, you know, range, but you cannot precisely. And that's why Elohim, he's past finding out. There's so much more to this thing than meets the eye. That's what everybody's been trying to tell you if you are still sitting on the fence. Oh my gosh. Then there's 4 levels within the inner person. Again, this is why the number 4 is so important, and why in the text is telling you this in so many groupings of 4. There are 4 levels within the inner person. You have the soul of the soul. So there's a total principle, the masculine and the feminine. There's always a garment concept. There's always a vessel. And then there's always a car. And then there's always what fills it. What gives it its unique identity and its unique essence and its unique personality. So it's my soul is mine. I got my personality, you got yours, all right? And we don't have the same one. We share a lot of physical traits. I mean, we're both human, we're upright, we got 2 arms, 2 legs, you know, all this kind of stuff. But and that's what's part of the beauty of it. That's what it's saying in nature, where every snowflake is different. Every grain of sand is different. It's so, when you go from the micro to the macro, Yahweh is so, that's unbelievable in his ability to categorize and to make subsets and to keep everything in order and linear and all these. And I say, let the wicked be damned. If you do not want to give glory to Yahweh Elohim, the Yetzero, our creator, you know, Rabbono Shel Olam, the master of the universe, then I say, let the wicked be damned. And you're going to have weeping and gnashing of teeth when you realize that, oh my gosh, why was I such, and I'll tell you what the word is in the Hebrew. It's a blockhead. You know, why was I so thick, so stupid? That's why, okay, we're not going to go there. So the 4 levels within the inner person are the soul of the soul. So there's a body and there's a soul concept within the concept of the higher soul. The oversoul, they call it, or the neshama of the neshama. Then you have the neshama, which is the seat of the intellect, which is equated with the world of creation, all right? And then you have the ruach, spirit. We all have this, well, I wouldn't say we all have this. The righteous soul finally has an integration of all of this. But as the story tells you, there are many quote-unquote souls that are just beasts, all they have is the nephesh soul left. So that's a big part of the story. I've you know, talked about that, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to tell you the 4 worlds that relates to us. You have the soul of the soul, the neshama of the neshama. You have the neshama, the intellect, which equates to the world of Beriah. Did I get that right? Yes. You have the ruach, which is the seat of our emotions, which corresponds to the world of Yetzar, the world of formation, and the nephesh, which is the vital soul, the living soul, which is the animated soul, the soul of the animal soul, appetites. I've been through all that. So then you have, it even equates down into this concept of the 4-fold divisions of the body. The body consists of the bones with the marrow in it, which again, you have a bone, which is filled with blood vessels. So again, you have the concept of the body and what fills it and gives it its animation. So you have the connecting tissues. We have tendons and sinews that takes that body and that connects it back together. We have flesh, which we have a muscle, and then we have skin, which is our covering, which again, and that's understanding that one, especially skin, and understand how he covered us here in this lower world where we fit. And that gets into the whole language of why it says that he covered them with flesh. He covered them. What was going on? Well, he's telling you in the worlds when they descended, this whole thing. See, this is why it's so deep. You stop buying into the lie that people are telling you, oh, it's just a bunch of kindergarten stories, you know, oh, he made a tree and like, well, these words are so loaded, you could spend your whole lifetime, which is what I'm doing at this point, trying to get to the core essence of these things. So you also have this in the 4 types of the clothing that was worn by the priests. All right. This is, again, the priests. It was, see, these are all like all object lessons. See how we never change his mind. They're over and over again, these concept of the 4 worlds, which I'm going to get to so you finally to relate to it, why this all matters in the sense of how it relates to us individually a little bit more. I'll get to. But the priests, the Kohanim, they had first in the whole garment thing, they had an undershirt, they had pants, they had a sash belt, and then over it they had a turban, and everything is placed very, you know, the sash is around the waist. It's a very important place when you put on the belt of truth. See, they're not making this up there, because in the Sephirithic body, in the Adam caveman, in the concept of this, our navel is our center. That's, you know, usually as much mass above and as much below. That is our, and the belt of truth refers to Emeret, the Sephirith of Tiferet, which is in the middle of the lower 7, and it literally, so what I'm trying to tell you is they all parallel. It's not random. There's nothing random about the way the scriptures and all these codes and the pictures they're painting and putting it together. So the sash is exactly where it's supposed to be, because it also mirrors the human body. Micro absolutely mirrors, in the sense, the macro of this whole world of, they call Adam Cave, or the whole creation, larger, you know, soup to nuts, visible and invisible, that Yahweh created. So you have, and then the turban on the head. Then you have the 4 levels, the whole temple. This is the whole point of the temple. The same, the template is exactly the same. You have a holy of holies. You have, you know, Command Central. You have, and this one is really interesting, because when you try to go from the world of Asya, the world of matter, okay, the first world, which I'm talking, the world of they call it the world of action, the world of physicality. It is a quantum leap to get into the next world, which is the world of the Ruach. All right? This is why science, they're just stuck right now. And, you know, praise Elohim, you're going to stay stuck. That's the whole point. Until you acknowledge him, you do not get to climb. There is no other gate. See, this is why Yeshua is the gate. And this is why in Assyria, if you're going to leave the world of physicality and everything, and you're going to get into the upper world, you're going to get to heaven, so to speak. You're going to go through that gate to believe that there are invisible worlds. And these things all play a part in this thing. there's only one gate. It's like he talks about the hireling, or the thief who tries to jump over the fence and tries to get in another way. No, it's not going to work. There's only one gate. There's one fence. There's one door. There's one way in to the next world, the world of formation. And you've got to get there on a whole different system. You've got to get there with a certain amount of faith, because there's just no other way to do it. There is no other way to do it, and it's done that deliberately, so that you have to choose him or Abba. You see, and I think it's a brilliant system. I think, and it works. So, anyways, when you get into the Holy of Holies, because there is this idea, you have the city, and you come down into, then you have the Temple Mount, then you have the court for the holy, and then you have inside the court, the Holy of Holies. You go from total macro, the outside world, the city, and even beyond that, and then you get into the world, it says, of outer darkness. You get into the wilderness. So there's one other last one they do this with, is the 4 levels of dwelling relating to the house. If you're going to do architecture, you have the house, and this is good. Then they always had a courtyard which adjoins the house, and then you would have the field. It would be in a field or a plot. And then out there you have the wilderness or the desert. So this just goes up and down, in and out, no matter what direction you want to go. The basic concepts, templates stay the same. It's an archetype. You can take, once you understand it, you can put. Now for us and our purposes, really, the world of that I wanted to, the world, and so this is why science can't get into this world, the concept that they're having a very hard time, because once they get into this world, try to get into the next dimension after the world of creation, the world of physicality, and you got to get into this world that the Bible calls, technically its most generic, broad term word for this is the world of angels. So I don't, once you get into that world, but see, angels is just an ancient, there's a lot to it, world of what's in the next dimension, which are forces, which are, again, we get down to intelligent, sentient beings. Nothing, is dead. There are, dead things out there, but he's collecting them all in Gehenna, in hell, and believe me, there's going to be one big dump flush go on. But this is where in the world, the next world up, the world, and this is the world of the Ruach, this is our spirit, and this is why Freud and Jung and these people who were just took a lot of this understanding and they put it in secular, and it has been put into secular psychologies and secular isms, and it denies the Godhead, and they are in deep, and anyone who subscribes to this, because you can have the same, your id, your ego, your superconscious. Forget how Freud, he puts it into those categories of psychological, which is absolutely true. But you think that just all evolved? No, that's how we're made. That is nothing different than talking about the different levels of the soul, which is more of a more biblical way of doing it. See, they just take over and over and over again, and that's why the wicked are going to be damned and judged, and I'm all over it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize anymore. That they just steal. See, they're liars and they're thieves. That's why it says in Revelation that those who practice magic arts, who use this knowledge and information, you occultists out there who are serving your bellies or your, angel overlord, whatever you're, and do not acknowledge our Yetzero, the Rabbanu Shalom, the Master of the Universe, who is Yahweh Elohim. You're going to have them for a really rude awakening, all right? And it's all going to catch up. So, and he has rules that you play by. If we had done it this way, that's why we're going to have a millennial reign where everyone's going to play by the rules, and we're going to have a peaceful kingdom, and people are going to be high-fiving everybody like, why didn't we do it the first time? Why did we, But there's so many levels to this thing. There's so many players, there's so much, you know, but we're just trying to stick with the 4 worlds, because as in the Zohar, the Kabbalistic understanding, it is very important to understand the 4 worlds and kind of understand what they're talking about theologically, because it's like learning your multiplication tables. You know, you really can't progress into higher math. This is why it's all, quote unquote, they call it levels of initiation, or I call it levels of school. You know, you cannot teach the first grader geometry because they do not have the tools, the mental, cognitive processing tools to understand what you're trying to teach them. That's called precept by precept. So what I wanted to go back into is we get up into this next world, the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. And this is the whole world, the astral world, the world of our soul, all these influence, things that are going on, the sun, moon, and the stars. There's many dimensions, or I mean, how to see. You got to keep it straight. There's 4 worlds technically, but a lot of them are made up of they group together a couple of dimensions that make up one world. All right. The world of physicality is actually only one Sephirithic. It's the final coming out of the King Malkut. So, but a lot of the other ones grouping different Sephirithic understandings together that make up a world. So you have this whole world of formation of the angels. But that's why I was going to say, angels are not, you know, little. These are powerful forces that have power way above us puny little humans are going to have right now, and they have names, and they have essences, and categorization, and you know, I've started to do this, categorize the 10, you know, there's 10, each dominion or each dimension has an angelic order in it, and it's very hierarchical, and each one either up or down. If you're starting at the top and you're coming down, so to speak, each world is made up of the world before it, so it contains it. That's why in this concept, when you get into dense materiality, there's so much stuffed into our world of DNA and all these things. But I will tell you this, the whole world of nanotechnology completely confirms this. I mean, look how much information we've gone from, you know, this massive, huge room with one computer down to a tiny, almost, they're getting so tiny you can't even see anymore, that can contain bits of information that they can put in, you know, in your cell phone or whatever. So this is as you go deeper, if you go up these worlds, there are more, and this is what's so counterintuitive about it. It's hard to kind of explain, but actually more powerful forces are being condensed into smaller spaces, so to speak. Because you can contain much, see, because in the mind of Elohim, he contains everything. There's no thought that he does not have. There's nothing that was ever created that's not already up there with him. There's nothing, you know, nothing takes him by surprise, and there's no dimension. Time is totally, he knows the beginning from the end. He knows us and what, so he's got it all, and as it comes down, it gets more compressed, but it also gets more hidden. So at this point, this is why it's kind of at the end of the age, while we're getting back down to the world, like, wow, there's this whole world of, you know, nano physical reality that's 1 billionth. Think about that, of a meter. I mean, how do you even begin to wrap your mind around that, okay? And that's just the quantitative measurement into the next dimension, into the next world. If it's not, I mean, come on. So by the time you get up to the world of creation, oh my gosh, so interesting. I mean, it's so interesting. Okay, so in this world of making, they call it the world of Asiya, this world of physicality, which we have, you go into a world of formation, which is the world basically of the angels, but angels are, you know, and this is why with mythology, we can understand them around what the ancients understood, and they talk about little fairies, or they talk about nature spirits, or they talk about the angels, or they're talking about Michael or Gabriel. What are they talking about? All right. And this is again where you kick it up a notch, and it talks about, you know, why would, you know, talk about the angel, when they're talking about Enoch or Elijah as an angel or in this world, they're saying, like, and this is what they're depicting, something that's got 12 wings, something that's versus 6 wings. And why in some of the writings they'll say, well, Enoch can transverse the world in 6 flaps of his wings, so to speak. But I don't know if I have the players right per se, but Elijah can do it in 4. What are they trying to tell us? See, this is what I'm saying. We have to stop. This is where you get into this whole world again of wave and particle and the speed of light and the speed of sound, and we're talking about how fast and how powerful and how pure and intuitive and quickly these forces can move through that world of Yetzirah, that world of formation. All right, and this is in the Sephirithic tree. That's why in the beginning of this I started with a quote. Let me find it again. I'll probably have to wrap this up soon. But it says that now it is time for us to grasp the concept that the upper 3 dimensions exist outside of the bottom 7. And this is why in mythology and all this understanding, they're always grouping 7 stars, and there's this grouping of 7. This is huge because you're talking about 7 lower Sephirith that truly are in the world of formation. This is the world of formation. This is where all the invisible parts of this creation that we would be reacting with on a daily level, because my thoughts is they're doing stuff out there. They're okay. My emotions are ruling and they're having an effect on my physical reality. My mood swings have a definite, if the mama ain't happy, ain't no one happy, all right? So this whole world has huge influence, but it's much quicker and ethereal, and it's got its own set of physics and its own set of laws, and and the ancients totally had this, and they had words for it. And one of the major words they talked about was the world of angels. All right, so now the world of creation, we're going up the Sephiric tree, and this is referring to the concept of the upper 3. This is the concept of our Heavenly Mother, our Heavenly Father, and Ketur, the crown. There is a world that is totally outside this world of creation, outside of time and outside of space. This is see the ancients knew all this stuff. Our patriarch, we don't ever need to apologize for the Bible again. That's my whole point. I'm trying to give people, don't apologize for 1 second. Call them the blockhead. Those are the ones that it says that are dull of hearing. And just to reiterate where I started, they're close-hearted, dull of hearing, and closed-minded and shut-eyed. All right? And until they take a little bit of a leap of faith that has so much step stool under it. There's really no leap of faith. It's just actually, it's just the stubbornness of your own heart. Just because at that point you really got to acknowledge a creator and a master and all this stuff. And it really comes down to, it really is why the Bible is so, it's just bottom line pride. It's one other thing, and if you're in this, it's fear that, oh my gosh, I'm too far gone. That's another one of the lies of Elohim. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean of Hasatan about Elohim. Oh, he could never forgive you. He could never clean up your life. You could never be worth. What a lie. See, he's a liar. They're liars. That's why he's going to go back to the book of Revelation. They're liars. They're thieves. And they practice magic arts. They use all this stuff, this understanding of, and for their own personal gratifications and their own personal agendas, which are all coming down. So, to just sort of wrap, because when you get into the world of creation, the world of Berea, the upper, where Heavenly Mother and Heavenly Father abide, this is our destination as the true righteous Sadiq, where we are going. And on the 8th day, and after the full week, the 8th day, we will be back up at the world of Absolute, the world of, how does it go here? The world of emanation. We will be home. We will be with. And then the world will be our oyster. This is really, who knows? Eye has not seen, ear has not heard what he has prepared for those that love him. But you know what? use your imagination. I was telling my friend, we had this conversation. Yeah, let's have lunch on Saturn, one of Saturn's rings, and have the whole and let's pretend to be like dolphins, just swimming in all the way. I mean, it's whatever. It's going to be so limitless in our ability to enjoy the Creator forever and have fellowship with our Creator Father forever and everyone else without it. So on this note, I guess to wrap this up, subscribe to my channel. Please like this video. Get into this deeper level understanding. Do not let anyone give you fear anymore that the Kabbalah, because I'll tell you a little secret, the wicked occultists have abducted it. There's a whole concept of Shekinah, she's in captivity now. We need to get in there, grab it, and bring it to the light, clean it up. This is our inheritance, but I will tell you, we're supposed to be wise as serpents. It's going to tell you everything you need to know about your enemy, all his little tricks. And so we will get the upper hand, and we will win this thing. So on that note, Shabbat, Shalom, and I will see you at the next report.